Thursday, 15th December, 5:22 p.m. Opening the meeting. Closing item 1, moving to item 2, recording the members and deputy members of the council who are unavailable, disqualified, ineligible, resigned, and present. Our Executive Director Antti Lomivirta will perform the roll call. Please shout out when you hear your name. Thank you. So starting with Aallon kokoomus. Siren, anyone else from Aallon kokoomus? No. Then moving to Kem.
Teurastin ehkä ääntämyksen pahoitteluni. Vihreämpi Aalto, Robbins, Matson, Pääkkönen, Välisalmi, Poutanen, Pyhälammi, Ihalainen. Muita? Malvikko on myös paikalla. Selvä. Voltti, Fiilman. Muita? Vuoga ei edustajia. Onko joku, joka nimeä ei mainittu? Ei ole. Puheenjohtaja läsnä 30 edustajista jäsentä.
30 representatives present.
Kiitos.
Thank you.
Todetaan, että paikalla.
We have 30 representatives present. We are granted the right to speak to all AYYE personnel, OBS, staff, and the interpreters. The right to speak and the right to be present is also granted automatically to the board, financial committee, and financial director. And all members of student union have the right to be present. Does anyone else need to be granted the right to speak and or the right to be present? Apparently no. Closing item 2, moving to item 3, recording the lawfulness and quorum of the meeting. According to our regulations, we have quorum when we have at least 25 representatives present, plus the chair or vice chair. Also, the invitation has to be published, invitation meeting has to be published on the Student Union's bulletin board and website at least 7 days prior to the meeting. The representatives need to be sent the invitation via email at least 7 days before the meeting in Finnish, Swedish, and English. These conditions are met, so the meeting is lawful and has quorum. Moving to closing item 3, moving to item 4, electing 2 persons approving the minutes and 2 vote counters. And as before, the scrutinizer of the minutes will act as deputies to the vote counters and vice versa. Opening discussions, any proposals? Filman? Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, Luoma. And 2 vote counters. It's likely that there will be no votes today, so you might get off easy. One more name, please. Thank you. Closing discussion. Scrutineers of the minutes are Filman and Luoma. Their deputies are Luca and Andriansen. Vote counters are Luca and Andriansen, and their deputies are Filman and Luoma. This has been decided. Closing item 4, moving to item 5, confirming the agenda for the meeting. The agenda has been sent to you with the invitation to the meeting. Does anyone have anything to add to it? And also I will state that I have been sent a proposal of withholding decision-making power about a decision made by the board, but this proposal was sent in late, only after the decision had been made. And as I've said in the email, which was only in Finnish, that we will have a discussion about this issue today in other emerging issues. So this is for your information. Okay, confirming the agenda for the meeting, closing item 5, moving to item 6, announcements. Opening discussion, any announcements? May I request the floor? Filman? I remind you already that speak directly into the microphone, preferably quite slow that the interpreters have time to interpret. Thank you. Ilman Boltti, I'd like to announce that the village's Christmas party at Rantsu went very well, and hopefully we will be able to organize it there in coming years as well. And also I'd like to wish everyone happy coming Christmas. Thank you, Emil. Any other request for floor? No. Closing discussion. Closing item 6. Moving to item 7. Latest news from the office. Chair of the board, Lusvari, could not unfortunately make it here today, so Malkamäki will present the news to us today. And then please ask questions only after the presentation. Yes, and the microphone should work now. Yes. Excellent Thursday to represent council and the viewers at home. I'm Mariana Malkamäki, member of the board, and I will tell you about the last news from the office for this year. So first, community issues. We have got more items to our art collection from 3 different artists, if I remember correctly. You can see them next year in this Student Culture Museum. We had the torch procession on the Independence Day, also had pre-Christmas party for our alumni and also for volunteers. And if you have any volunteers here, I'd like to remind you that the survey for volunteers about their well-being related to the well-being project and action plan. So we have this survey open, and also there are winners are drawn among the participants or those who are taking the survey. And then for housing, a lot of issues. So next year our rent will increase somewhat. For our apartments, we've had a surplus previously, so the deficit next year is not dangerous to us, but still we need to increase the rent. Then the sale of real estate, the status about that has not changed. Maybe that we may have to decrease our sale price a bit, depending on the market situation. We also prepared our investment program. But the sale of the real estate properties affects it, so I have to wait for that. The Otakaari project planning is moving forward quite well. And the follow-up project for Miesten tie is moving forward as well. But it will be now our cooperation partner is no longer Espoo, but the whole well-being region in this. Then transforming our real estate companies and also our rent system, but Monica knows about them. Then yes, energy saving. A winter of energy saving is coming up, so we have tried to think about how to save energy. Monica knows more about these as well. And here's a cute dog to move to more housing issues. We've had tenant meetings, everyone else besides Vaasankatu. Also the housing committee meeting, the last one is coming up on the 20th. Today we allocated the facilities for associations, the Tilakähmyt. And so for other associations, these round opens for everyone on Monday the 19th. And the service office is closed from 23rd December until the end of the year. And on the website you can see when the telephone hours are, when that's open. And also what the opening hours are during Christmas time. And also Housing and Services team, I should thank you for this year and for the cooperation about communication. Our service communications project that we do together with GoFore is moving forward. We will have next Tuesday a debrief meeting. So we'll hear more results about that next year. The design notebook is now in print. It will come out at the start of the year. Also, the weekly newsletter will be on Christmas break. Julia Vihuri has been promoted. She's now the senior communications expert. Also, with the advocacy team, we made our opinion piece about it related to tuition fees. Also, this meme here, you can find it on our social media as well. And yes, this opinion piece or this statement, we did it, it's against tuition fees. Then we have also continued the application period for student representatives in the university's management. We're still missing a representative from arts for this degree committee. We also met with SYL, we were in the SYL administration seminar. And Vera, Totti and Veixing were in this meeting of these SYL board student members. Eneranka is applying for the World Student Capital as the president of the board next year. And for next year, also replacement recruitment for a social policy expert. For next year, we have opened applications actually today for that, for the stand-in. And we are also planning for this audit task force and auditing visit that will be held in January. We're also looking for student representatives, so apply if you're interested. Then IT and administration. Our IT expert has looked into our IT systems and also the data security, and they saw that the basics are in order, but there's a lot to do and a lot to maintain when compared to the resources that we have. The integration between SISU and AYYE member register, the update on that has been started. It should be finished by next spring. They have looked into our archiving materials. We will have a new IT support person who will start on the 19th, Riku Helminen. And yes, here as well, the application opener for the social policy expert. Then the board has made its last decisions this year and also showed the ropes to the new board, done archiving, and also held our student union flag high in this student torch procession on the Independence Day. Here are some of the decisions that the board has made, but I won't read them all out loud. So yeah, thank you. And feel free to ask questions. Yes, opening discussion. Did you have a clarification? If you'll rewind back to the administration and IT. So what I heard today, that Riku Helminen will not start as the non-military serviceman on the 19th because they have been released from service. So we are still looking for our new IT support person, actually. Yes, non-military servicemen are more affordable than IT chiefs. So if you know someone or you are a non-military serviceman, please let us know. Filman? Why isn't this presentation available anywhere? Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. Why isn't this available, this presentation? That was the question. That's a good question. Maybe the people next year could think that maybe promote our or improve on our material bank. Yes, usually these are shared on AYYE Inside. Yes, apologies, I didn't know about this. Yes, the new board, please keep this in mind. Yes, it's good now to have this kind of critique now that it's almost Christmas, 15th of December. But yes, any other questions or comments related to the news from the office? Yes, so thank you. Closing discussion. And the Representative Council decided to record the latest news from the office, closing item 7, moving to item 8, plan of action for the year 2023.
The plan of action for 2023, when you remember that this was already on the table on the last meeting at the end of last month, 3 weeks ago, and the RepCo decided to return this to preparation. Antti, please. Thank you. On the subject of plan of action, the board did not see any need to change the plan of action. So it is the exact same plan of action as I presented to you in the last meeting. And from a timetable point of view, I would say that in what kind of scope do you wish me to present it? Or do you have enough information to do something? I have one person nodding that you would have enough information. So let's ask this way that do you wish for me to present this item or not? I interpret that people have looked at the item enough and attended the last meeting that I do not need to make a new presentation about it. We'll do an addition that if you return something to preparation, the assumption is that some changes will be made, but the message was that the message from the RepCo was that you just want to handle it in the same one as the budget. This is why it was returned to sender, not because it was lacking something. So opening discussions, you may ask for the floor if you wish to take the floor or comment on the plan of action 2023. Please. I'd like to present my problems with the plan of action and my dislike that this IT item was not discussed more? Thank you, Emil. Do we have any other requests for the floor? No requests, so I will close the discussions, move to decide, the motion being that the EUREPCO decide to adopt the AYY plan of action for 2023 in accordance with Appendix 8. Decided. Closing item 8, moving on to item 9, the budget for 2023 with Ilma Virta presenting. Correct. Yes, correct. Yes, now the mic is working. So the financial review, or the budget in this case, me and Monica decided that I will be presenting these slides first and how we have ended up in these numbers, what kind of operations have we taken along the way, and if you wish to ask yourself on the big numbers on the budget proper, then with Monica we will be answering you to the best of our ability. So without further ado, we had the preliminary discussion on the process. In this discussion, we asked on the sustainable development resourcing. Most people thought that the strategic goals should be met, and many of you felt that we will be doing it with what we have and we'll do what we can. This was taken into account, and in the later discussions with you, we discussed the IT resources, and in accordance with the plan of actions, we talked about consultants and utilizing them. These have been taken into account when making the plan. In the prelim, you gave us the permission to use all tools, or actually no tools were kind of disqualified, that you should not use this utilization. So price increases, savings, increasing the membership fee, and increasing the framework. We just had the plan of action in the same meeting with the budget, after which we did lots of budget work sector by sector inside the office. And once we had the first presentation ready made, we've worked it further with the board, the leadership team, and in the financial real estate committee. After all this work, the board made its budget decisions that you have here in front of you. Some issues that were raised, that these sustainable development issues, we decided that we at the central office came to the conclusion that, because like we earlier told, that our social political expert is leaving for study leave, we saw this as an opportunity, and with our chief of influencing and communication, we decided that because they have reorganized themselves so that we can take a large chunk of the deputy member work hours to make this a reality. It's not a half day that we originally discussed, but it is a lot more than the about 10% that was the original idea. So we propose that this year or next year we would go with this and see what kind of results we garner with this. I am very confident, and Nea is very confident in that when we recruit the correct individual with the correct passion, or has the prerequisite passion for driving this objective, so we can get a lot out of it without increasing our ongoing costs too much. Then on the IT, last the discussion wished for a full-time IT service manager. And me and Annika especially did a lot of work on this item. In the last discussion, we mentioned Petteri, the previous IT manager, and we contacted Petteri, discussed his experiences on the task, and he was very clearly adamant about that you should not create this kind of task. It was impossible to handle this for one person, too big, too diverse for just one person. So his point was that AYY should more and more purchase services for on an as needs basis. And the Aalto person in charge of information security usually discusses with us a lot, because we get our membership based information from the Aalto, so they want to know that our IT security is up to scratch. And we happen to have one of these discussions between meetings, and they also gave a clear message or green light in the sense that that even though our basics are fine, that they were a bit perplexed on how much we do with what the resources we have. And they said that we should do less things. We should do very less in IT to ensure that the things we do get executed with a proper level. If we would like to increase this resources, we would need an individual who is capable of leading a team and is really quite the ninja, jack of all trades. That's quite an individual. We did some research, and we got up to at least 5,000 a month. And then you take all the additional expenses, it's about 80,000 years and 80,000 euros a year. And looking at our financial situation, based on this, we suggest that this kind of individual will not be recruited, and we are not proposing increases for IT in the budget review. The grounds for budgeting, when we got to that, on the sector-based budgeting, managers and the executive producer were pretty much in charge of this with my and Monica's instructions. So what we did in the world before we started to go, that we started to divvy up the cake, that we started to actually make clarifications and simplifications on the framework, combined cost centers, cut down on accounts, and moved things to more sensible locations to be more logical in the big picture. What I use as an example is when we use the culture car Biili, where our volunteers use it. It was used to be under administrative, and we decided, like, if it's used by the community, shouldn't it be under community? And that's what we did. In addition, some staff costs had been in different sectors without any actual grounds on why it should still be done. So we did that decision that if somebody is 100% doing something, then the wage costs will go to that something and that team. These changes will actually clarify most of the big changes that the budget brackets have undergone. So if you're looking at, for example, community wage costs, that's a good example of an increased cost. But there's no actual increase in costs but we've just reallocated the cost. It actually looks like it's now suddenly costing much more, which is not the case. The good news is that our member base has grown even faster than we anticipated, and the trend is positive, which means that we will probably go past 17,000 members next year, which enables us to budget based on membership fees. The bad news is, of course, that the inflation and increases in all prices kind of hits us very hard, in a very, very significant manner. It kind of took everything we got from increased membership fees and then some. Then the original instructions being that don't use any more money, try to save money if you can. And after we've budgeted, taking into account the fact that if single rental spaces, the saunas would want to be turned on, it would require, I think, 30,000 euros more, because the single rental spaces are in our housing projects, and the expenses that they garner, they go to these tenements, they go to the projects or the buildings, and it's not good that the tenants would have to pay for the costs. So it would mean that the Repco would have to actually pay these costs, these increased heating costs, etc. So this is kind of a very gross oversimplification, but what it would actually be. So that was originally taken into account in the financial review. We did an increase in the board fees, 20%. We haven't increased this in a very long time. And when taking into account the increased costs in general and inflation, we were in a situation where we're under minus 700,000 and our investment framework is a 600,000. So we were kind of 100,000 in the red. So we started this project 100,000. So we sought after the 100,000 on how to fix this. Along the way, we had lots of phases and situations. If you've looked at the agendas from board meetings, the very first meeting featured the increase of membership fees in €2. But the board found the savings from elsewhere, and we are not proposing that anymore. Here we have the 100,000 in results, and the costs. When everybody needed to gain their share of misery in budgeted, I had shared misery so that the Manta Lakitus project, even though it's a large project, but I hadn't given them any more money. I just give them in the situation that they'd have to find the money in the old framework. We wanted to give them some, so 5,000. The savings, we cut back on association grants about a quarter. This to especially subject organizations and organizations with a lot of money. We hadn't even made the decisions yet on what organizations will be receiving these cuts. But this is before the operational grants go into effect. We'll need to decide it. Well, the new board will have to decide with based on the indicative discussions would be that would be the case. The idea is that our association grants are very important for small associations when we talk about 100 or a couple of hundred per year, but they might not be that important to the associations where they have several tens of thousands of euros a year in budget. The strategy money, cut that back, which also goes to our plan of action projects. Many of these are not new costs. but we had kind of centralized the opportunity or the option to buy external services. The fact that within the sector we can do things throughout the year. We focused on this one single money, so the rest of the organization will be more flexible with what we can do. We had 40,000 for the projects and 20,000 for next year's project that we haven't really come up with yet. What good things can we do next year? So we took a third of that with the idea that in accordance with what we discussed last time is that how much services do we buy from outside in order to do these projects cheaper. So from the 40,000 we could have a bit more wiggle room, but it will cut down on wiggle room, that is certain. Single rental spaces, cutting the saunas off for the winter, even though the budget is accepted. The saunas will be closed starting on the 1st, probably continuing until the end of March. And this decision enables the fact that we did the 30,000 euro reserve. The board came with, they halved increasing their own wages. We talked about 20% and we ended up with 10. And then we cheese grated 8,000, for example, in being a board god parent. So the budget was something that we can flex a bit. And the community side mainly accounts for the rest of the savings. We also have two items here, single rental spaces, making them more profitable, 15,000. What does that actually mean? Not exactly anything, but in practical terms, committing to this would mean that within the next year, we need to take actions that will make the single rental spaces more lucrative. In practice, this would mean increasing in prices. It would mean cutting down on costs, taking a stance on, for example, how they're cleaned. It could be cutting down on how much AYY can use them for free, so we have more time for paid use, gaining more money through that. Also, binding themselves, mainly me, binding next year's actions so that this lucrativeness should improve. And last, we increase in the investment framework of 5,000. And we are also proposing that we do not increase the membership fee in this situation. This is the my presentation on how do we get these numbers. Thank you. Opening discussions. And before we start, I would note that our next item is deciding on the membership fee, but it will actually decide here on the budget, based on the budget. And the next item we all only did kind of drop the gavel. So you may request for the floor if you have any questions, then we're moving on to comments, and then Pouti Fielman. Golden Green Aalto. Does the single rental space thing mean that we close down the saunas? Is that the item of the party that will be renting them? They can't even pay them to get the saunas. So it means that the saunas will not be heating up by any means. We thought about if we could have a solution where you could pay an extra fee to get the sauna heated up, but regrettably, technically, that is not possible. Mainly because many facilities don't have the option to do this. But, could do more options. We have looked at the options, but this was one of our 3 suggestions or solution, but it was pretty clear that technically it's pretty much not possible. I was afraid that this would happen, but I hope that you look into the calculations that people will probably not rent the spaces, the saunas, if the sauna is not working. Yes, that this has been taken into account, and the bare truth is that when looking at the free use, it's actually very rarely are facilities actually bring enough money to cover their own costs. That if we actually have less people using them, according to our estimate, it would not actually affect pretty much anything quite that much. There's continuation that I don't understand how we are saving money that we close down the saunas. Is it not that they are in our buildings? That if that this should be something that it's something that comes from rent. So why is the rent not matching with the price? So why would we not increase rents, even though how expensive electricity might be, the heating one sauna is not that many more euros. We discussed these options, and this was the conclusion that we preferred. The real costs are very hard to predict, just based on the fact that it's impossible to say that what kind of winter will we be having in terms of electricity and its availability. It's really hard for us. We don't have any measurements. Correct me, Monica, if I'm wrong, but we don't have the adequate meters that we could point out these costs very, or pinpoint the costs. A question here is that instead of increasing the rents that would surely cover it, we are just cutting down on our service level by quite a lot. We have lots of events that we want to organize, and for the freshmen and first years that we would have these events. So I am strongly questioning this saving. We can just increase the rental cost to cover this. No, nobody is happy with the situation. That is clear. And as far as savings go, that say that this is kind of a relative savings. It is more on the sense that when we do this operation in the budget, we don't have to allocate a lot more money for this. To cover the heating and water costs. Whether or not we want to increase the rents by, say, a significant amount, this suggestion is something that is being proposed, and we need to take into account that our facilities are used by individuals who don't pay by quite a large margin as well. So those costs would need to be covered by some means. But there is no kind of easy solution. Stimpert first, then Pollari.
think this is a thing that we would do only this year, and that it's predictable that this wouldn't be necessary in the next years, because if we don't have saunas that are profitable or something like that, that who tells us that we don't have to make this decision every year, and then we get stuck in this system and we have facilities that we don't actually use? That would be pretty bad.
Joo.
Yes, that's a good comment. We have kind of two sides to this coin. It is the profitability side of the things is one, single rental spaces, and they're making them more lucrative or more profitable. That is something that we need to do regardless. This is something that will be on the agenda very much next year if the budget will be approved. And even though it wouldn't be approved, that nevertheless it's something that we will have to do. What comes to this winter is hopefully a rare exception that will not happen the second time. It would be very preferable from a societal point of view is that the electricity price would normalize for next year, that we could forecast the price and we could be assured that we have enough electricity. I haven't really highlighted that much based on this decision, that the kind of societal side of things. But we talk about what Fingrid has very much wished individuals to save electricity everywhere where possible. But the wish is that this is the exception, not the rule, and this is not something that we want to do any year, this year or any other year. Pollari followed by Poutanen. Does this concern with the we talk about the Rantsu small side as well, which is wood heated? It is regrettably, it does concern a small Rantsu sauna as well. It is wood heated, but the price of wood is even more than of electricity. And that if all sauna would go to the small side of Rantsu, we see it kind of very challenging. So Aalto, opponent from the opposition, you said in your previous say that we do not have ways to measure electricity costs or electricity. So you don't have any numbers on how much electricity does the saunas use. Then again, you are giving us saying that putting them off for 3 months saves 30,000. I feel that this is a kind of a Harrison Stetson comparison, like and like we could do this with a quick consultancy maths. We talk about 30,000 euros, about 13 saunas, talk about 26 euros, a price increase in every sauna for each rental. That would net us 30,000 euros. Of course, a pessimist could be a bit more pessimistic and maybe talk about 35 euros. And I think it's prudent to ask that whether or not the sauna electricity usage is a relevant cost to talk about when we talk about smökki and its heating. How much does that use? So it's kind of a crappy to might try to make a student policy without the facts with which to do the decisions. This is why I did not use the societal comment as at least not as the first comment here. The budget review is the budget review and the budget. You may make changes, and if you want to make changes, that's what we will do. This is the template we propose, and you will do the decision. If you want to change it, then that's your right. The 30,000 euros is the best estimate from our real estate expert. It is an estimate. It can be less, it can be more. If the price of electricity goes up, it skyrockets, then it's more. If it's less, then it's less. It changes from target to target, what kind of measurements we have, sauna by sauna. But regardless, it can't be so that the tenants can't have to pay for these if the increases in price go up. Like I said, we don't have an easy solution that would be good for everyone. We go with our best estimates that we have available, and we'd like to give you better facts and more information. That's something that we work towards, that we would have better facts in the future and more measurements, for example, on the real expenses of the single rental spaces, room by room. Historically, there's also been a lot of that, but it hasn't kind of been something that we focus on. It hasn't been like we could just gloss over things. But now with the increased costs, it's not okay to divvy these costs to the tenants. So we will develop our technique and processes, but this is the reality that, well, the way we have actually gotten these questions. No other questions have been made. Actually, we have questions, but you can still continue requesting the floor. Continuing with Fielman. So Fielman, quick question. Can I bring my own wood and use them? Yes, we'll be looking at all options. This is not we could maybe do the big picture discussion, not these. But still, originally the proposal was that we would increase membership fee by €2. Was it not? Originally, yes. The process has gone so that I make a template which had the inclusion a bit less cutbacks, and it had the €2 increase. And then we had lots of discussions, and this is the result where we're at. So it was my draft, and if I'd have to find the 100,000 from somewhere, one part of this would have been the €2 increase. And the board, as my superior, did wiser choices, and here we have the result. So based on this, I propose that we do this €2 increase, and we can use this money to, for example, the saunas or the IT. And if we don't use it, then we won't. To students, €2 is minimal, it's negligible, but for AYY's finances, it might have significant impact. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, if I may comment, I will not take a stand on how minimal it will be or will not for students, but €1 for the autumn's tuition fee, €1 increase is about 15,000 euros. So an increase of €2 is 30,000 euros more into the budget. So that's the scale. That's the scale we have. And yes, here when we say that we decided the membership fee, we talk about the total fee instead of any increases or decreases. Yes, I agree with both. And more about the saunas, one more comment. I think AYYE has the kind of right to take social responsibility because our society is in an energy crisis. And those respirator machines will maybe left without electricity, but I'm still not very convinced about this justification that it will save this much money and this would be the only way to save money. If this would be justified in a way of taking social responsibility, then it would be easier to kind of agree with it. But since you justify it with the budget and savings, I'm not really convinced. Next, Luukkanen. Or, oh no, Julle actually, yes. Yes, Luukkanen from Skisma. It's about the sauna topic. Is it the bottom line that this 30,000 euros that has been questioned, but I myself believe in it because that's the best information we have to base our decision on. So if we want to have this 30,000 euros of savings, I feel that in the facilities in Otaniemi, all facilities have a sauna because when it didn't really matter, we were just, why not put a sauna everywhere? And it may not be kind of needed in all facilities, all buildings. But of course, it'd be nice if we had some facilities where the people who want a sauna can pay for it and can go to the sauna. So my question is that, is it possible to approve of this budget as it is, but at the start of the year do preparatory work to make sure that we have at least a couple of sauna facilities in use, and that could also have the measuring of electricity that they would show how much it costs. So then we would have a couple of places that are specifically sauna facilities, so kind of only for that, so that they would be for sauna nights, not just for parties where there happens to be a sauna. So is it possible, if we approve this budget as is and then prepare for this, to have a couple of saunas open? Well, it is possible, but then we had to do some prioritization at the start of the year on what to work on. And about this measuring or kind of keeping track of how much electricity is, how much money it uses, we can do it, but we also need to make sure that the student housing side is compensated for the costs coming from heating the saunas. And that we can justify this compensation. Let's say that we had these grounds to give a bigger compensation to these buildings because they had the sauna in use. Thank you, and next Vilma. Thank you. I could also promote the digitalization of our student union of installing electricity meters there. They really don't cost the meters much. The installation costs something, but the actual devices are pretty cheap. And if we would increase the membership fee by 1 or 2 euros, we could use that money for these electricity meters. Now I will ask if we have proposals for change incoming for the budget. Is anyone planning to submit a proposal? Point of order that the interpreter cannot hear. Yes, I have propose this increase of membership fee by €2, but I need a backer for it. So let me know if you want to back this proposal. Yes, Finland proposes to increase the membership fee by €2, and it will be allocated somehow into the saunas. The sauna adjacent item, sauna and IT. Do we have a backer for this proposal? If there is a backer and we have other proposals as well, we will soon have a meeting break to find out about what to do with the proposals. But yes, do we have a backer for Fielman's proposal? So if there are no proposal for change or a backer for Fielman's proposal, we will approve the budget as is and also decide on the membership fee as is, according to the proposal, that is. Seems pretty quiet. Any other requests from floor, or do we move on to decide? Yes, everyone seems happy enough. So closing discussion. And the proposal was that the Representative Council decided to approve the budget for 2023 in accordance with Appendix 9. Closing item 9, moving to item 10, membership fee in the academic year 2023 and 2024. As was stated before, the proposal is that the membership fee will be the same as this year, so €63 for degree students and €43 for doctoral students. You also approved of the budget with these figures. Anything to add? Apparently no. So question, Fielman? Yes, I now propose the same thing. It's now it won't be budgeted anywhere, but I still propose an increase of €2 the membership fee. Is there a backer for this proposal? If there is, we will vote on it. Apparently no backer for the proposal, so closing discussion and moving on to make the decision. The motion is that the Council decided the membership fee for the entire academic year 2023-2024 is €63 for bachelor and master level students and €43 for doctoral students. Closing item 10. Moving to item 11, election of the auditing firm. Monica will present this. Thank you. I don't have a presentation on this item. And as you may see from the agenda, we don't yet have a proposal for electing an auditing firm, actually. Because the Financial Committee has concluded that even though this year we couldn't prioritize the tendering of an auditing firm, we want to do it at the start of the next year. It's because we usually are not that busy in January, so we would have time for that. And we have already done the timetable and materials for the tendering process already. And also supporting people in the Financial Committee have also said that since all prices or costs are increasing, it would be now a good time to do the tendering. But still we wanted to put this on the agenda because this is in our regulations that it needs to be handled in this December's meeting. But the idea is that once this year's financial statement is confirmed in spring, then in connection with that, we will make a decision on the election of the auditing firm because we will have plenty of time then as well. This is the overview of the situation, but still we of course want and need your authorization to do this, to start the tendering process. And if you have a counter proposal, we can of course continue with our current firm right now as well, if you decide so. Opening discussion. And according to our regulations, our constitution, the auditing firm is elected before the turn of the year. But yes, Emil? It's going to be entered into the minutes that the board and financial committee needs to adhere to AYYE constitution. So please record this in the minutes that you should adhere to our constitution. Yes, it already says in the proposal that the Representative Council states that the decision contradicts the student union's constitution. Hopefully this is enough that we don't have to enter this separately into the minutes. So what do you want to be entered into the minutes? I'd like to ask to be recorded in the minutes that the AYYE board and office and administration should adhere to AYYE's constitution, and I reprimand them because it's stated in our constitution what we should do, and the board proposes to contradict this constitution. Apparently no proposals for change, so I think we can close the discussion. Make the decision. The Representative Council decided that the auditing firm for 2023 will be elected in the spring of 2023 at the meeting where the RepCo will address the financial statement for 2022. In addition, the RepCo stated that the decision contradicts Section 16, subsection 2 of the Student Union Constitution. Closing item 11. And now I think we could take a break. Let's have a 15-minute break. So let's continue at 6:45. Thank you. Yes, closing the meeting break and continue the meeting. Moving on to item 12, filling of vacancies in the finance board. Kuraniemi will present this. Thank you. Now we will fill in the vacancies in the financial board. So nominate new ones, new members. The financial board is the body that takes care of the finances of the student union. Make sure that our money is not wasted, or at least voices their opinion if they see that this is about to happen. Yes, next slide, please. Oh yeah, I have the clicker. So this is what our constitution says about the finance board. It consists of 8 to 10 members, including the chair. At least half of the members must be members of the student union and students. The representative council, so you, appoints the members of the finance board on the proposal of the board for 2 years at a time. And the chair's term is 1 year. Here we have the proposal. So here in bold we have the new members. Tell you a bit about the selection process. In the finance board we have student representatives and tenant representatives. Two of both. Applicants who filled the criteria, being members, etc. There was a quite low number of them, unfortunately, but we still managed to get good, competent people that we now propose as members of the financial board. So yes, Anna Halsas and Antti Pentikäinen, their terms are about to end, and Sampo Sainio will replace Halsas, and Ailin Pieti will replace Pentikäinen. And Lippo Suonen will continue as chair according to the proposal. When doing the selection, according to the applications, we took note of the person's motivation, their available time to give to the financial board, and their expertise. Here on the right side in this English language, there are too many bolded names actually, so you can compare them to the Finnish one, which is correct. So Milli Leinonen and Perttu Antikainen should not be bolded, because they are not new members. Yes, any questions or comments related to this? Pilman? Thank you. Do I understand it? That there is a peculiar case with this. This was put up to the handling of residence meeting, and not all residence meeting had been held at that point, which means that not all candidates could apply. So isn't this a bit unfair, unjust? Monica, can you comment on this, or will you let me speak? maybe say the right thing. Yes, I'll bring you the microphone. Yes, we have tried to make it an involving process for the residents to engage them so that the residents meetings could appoint their candidates. And we have a deadline here, it needs to be approved in this meeting, but if I understand correctly, the residents meetings, when we gave the certain weeks of when to hold them, but I think 2 buildings, 2 houses, they were not able to hold a meeting within this schedule. So unfortunately, these potential candidates in these buildings were not able to apply. But we still have to keep in mind that in the general application period, that was many years before that, all members could have applied during that round already. So for the student representative seat, that is has now been given to Sampo. Thank you. Any other requests for floor? Välisolmu from Vihreämpi Aalto. I just want to ask, have you noticed that AYYE's constitution states, section 33, that at least half should be members of the student union of these 10 members? As a note, maybe you should try to adhere to the constitution in the future. Yes, good point. I asked Monika Kivimäki, our financial director, about this, and she said that Lippo Suominen can be interpreted that they are a student in this situation. Vilman? So is the chair of the financial committee, are they a member of AYYE? Monika, if you could nod or shake your head for an answer. They may be or maybe not, but they can be said that the Lippo is a student. Yes, as was said, this is not the criteria that they're a student. The criteria is that at least half needs to be a member of the student union. So are they a member or not? Was that a question? Yes, usually the chair has been a member of the student union, even if they're not a student. Yes, you have a proposal for change. Apparently no. Yes, the representative council decided to appoint the finance board for 2023 in accordance with Appendix 8, closing item 12 with item 13, filling in vacancies in the directorate of the Fund for the Promotion of Teekkari Operations. Kuraniemi continues. Thank you. As we decide on the filling of vacancies in the directorate of the fund for the promotions of the Ekkari operations, so the TTE fund, TTER in Finnish. So they fund our community's projects. And in the regulations, it says that the directorate consists of a chair and 6 other members. And of the other members, 3 must be selected from the persons nominated by the Guild of the Round Tower, and 3 are appointed by AYYE, by Aalto University, or the student union, and the directorate is appointed by the representative council. The term of the chair is for 2 years. And here we have today's proposal on the composition. Here we had more applicants, 5 applicants in total, all of which were interviewed. We proposed Anneli Myllykangas to continue as the chair. Or they have actually been a member previously of the TTE fund. And yes, the term as member will end this year. So we saw that they have the best vision of how to develop the fund and about its future. And as member appointed by AYYE to replace Anneli, we propose Anu Juvonen, the AYY's representative. They have experience on TTE fund before, acting as the secretary of the fund before. And here are the ending terms. So Erna Virtanen acted as the chair this year. Jaakko Helleranta has been appointed by the Guild of the Round Tower and has been there for 3 terms now. And it's stated in the regulations that a person cannot be there for more than 3 terms. And for the AYYE representatives, the practice has been that they are there only for 1 term. And the Guild of the Round Tower has proposed Anna Himmanen to fill in when Jaakko Helleranna's term ends. Thank you. Any questions or comments on this?
No questions, so closing discussions and moving to decide. The template was that the representative council decided to appoint the new members to replace the resigning members of the directorate of the TTE fund and the chair of the directorate of the TTE fund, and to confirm the current composition in accordance with Appendix 13. Closing item 13. Moving on to item 14, securing the use of university facilities for students. And Emil Fielman has presented this to the board, so they will present the item in question. Before unleashing Emil, I will state that the board has not made a specific template. They have the right. So the template is Fielman's proposal that will be heard very soon. The floor is yours. Thank you. Yes, you can hear me. You have heard. Lots have changed. lot has happened. We would like to do some changes. Speaker is speaking very quickly. Let's go with the PDF we have. So we have two issues. One is the fact that lots of facilities are costly nowadays, especially during weekends, and the university is lobbying to restrict student access rights, especially the lobby services are something that increases the price. The prices for the facilities themselves are reasonably priced. Currently, we have the problem that currently we have a good situation. You can have 24/7 access, depending on the guild, the board. And for guild rooms, we have this fees. But previously, it was free or minimal price, easy use of access, no restrictions to access rights. And all associations within Aalto sphere of influence can have reserve Aalto facilities for their use. This has worked very nicely, and nobody has expressed any concerns. And they now want to change this for equality measures, as they state. This sounds like a bogus explanation. For example, we have a grassroots event, like a group of students go to the computer room for computer room for the weekend and participate in a capture the flag contest, that it would cost 1,000 euros easily. So the lobby services price is very, very high. Even though we talk about whether or not guilds are rich, they're not like that rich. They can't pay for lobby services non-stop. And the facility rental spaces price is bearable if we want to organize a grassroots level event. The university usually helps with this, and you can get that covered pretty easily. But the lobby services are the linchpin of the problem here. Aalto has not given a sensible solution that they would some of the grassroots events would come from Aalto's budget, but they have just stated that they will just um, take the money from the associations, which means the students. There is a price roof, but this is 500 euros per organization per 6 months or something like. It's twice a year, not once a year. Do you have any questions on the prices of facilities? Then restrictions to access rights to guild rooms. Currently, very many places are accessible 24/7 and so forth. But a change is being sought that the board plus 10 would be allowed, and for others it would be Monday to Sunday 7 to 10. Like we said that okay, in ENG we have it worse. Several years we've had bad access to facilities. I think it's that the fact that some have it bad means that everybody should have it as bad or worse is not good. If a guild wants it, they can restrict access right if they wish to do so. But based on this Aaltos proposal, we would have it for everyone. It is said that guild rooms are not study rooms. But usually when I'm visiting a guild room, there's practically every time there's somebody studying. If you are studying in a, for example, a computer room, guild rooms being a important break to studies. They are very needed. Let's say like we have people in the self-study rooms. Let's put some of the guild room stuffs into the self-study rooms. Why would we want to do that? Change the self-study rooms into guild rooms. Most of the guild rooms are 24/7 next to a lobby or a hallway that will already have security watching it. So if you can actually access the door of the guild room 24/7, so why not access the room? Guilds will need more access than just the board plus 10 people. So at least that will need to be increased. Then Tampere Rannat, they have 24/7 access, and I feel that Aalto can't be worse, as are Bönde universities. Do you have any questions on this item? You can ask later. As an example, we have hub, Y134 and Y55, 63, and 62. These are all something that you can access them from hub. So there's no reason to restrict access at 24/7 if the guild wishes to do so. There is no reasonable explanation that you should not let all the guild people access. We have several guilds and associations. So my proposal here is a point of order that this is not a requirement to negotiate or bring the AYY stance. This is a requirement to negotiate and to bring forth our opinion. That's it. We students, we state that this is not okay, and Aalto would notify this thing, and we can get maybe some publicity for this, links on the web pages, etc. So this is something where we can state that a advocacy for people, please. And like Saiko said that this is okay because the school can make this decision. I feel that we want to support the well-being of students, even though Saiko might not want to do this. If you are not happy in some parts of the presentation, instead of just discounting the presentation, please proposals for change for the part where you're not satisfied with the papers. I rehosted the docs, also the presentation, and we have the Aalto link where it's same things. Thank you. Do you have any questions on the subject? So this is your presentation. Opening discussions, you may ask for the floor. Saiko, followed by Hamminen. We have the second mic somewhere. First Saiko. Not in a terrible hurry. Thank you for these good points. And I would ask here that in the group chairs meeting, we said that AYYE has had negotiations with Aalto from these very issues. Do these current goals, well-being of students and better facilities for students, do they actually differentiate from what we had? If we had the situation where AYY and Aalto have negotiated, we have gotten the result where we are now, which is not the best for students. Does our executive director feel that this would actually bring more negotiating power to the table? Thank you. I may comment at this stage. We have several sides to the coin, as it were. If we look at this a bit back, I feel that the first communication to this that Aalto is going to kind of tax the facilities came from the choirs. Several choirs have trained in Aalto facilities. And this also ties in with the kind of ye olde traditions, speaking like this, where during the TKK years, we've made deals where in kind of a we can do these trainings in lieu of doing these concerts. And for years have passed, and all kinds of things have happened. And now Aalto had finally decided that they are not satisfied with the fact that student organizations use these facilities for free. And that's where the discussion started from. I think for first the choirs had been told that you will be having to pay in the future. And then we got this request that AYY, could you take a stance on this? We are not very happy about this. But we realized that this actually concerns all student organizations, not just the choirs. Our educational policy correspondent Teemu, Vili, and then me, who were included in the discussions. Long story short, is that from this point where we started this discussion, the ongoing reservations, you have this like kind of weekly slot. You go there, you do this thing, and we managed to discuss to the point where they were more reasonable with the pricings towards us. So it was significantly less than the first presentations that we received. The per hour price for these sizable facilities, and we managed to get an extra clause that even though if the use of the facility exceeds the timetable, like if you have a facility until 8 and you continue until 9, you don't need a steward there and paid €60 plus tax per hour for the extra hour when we are talking about a trusted organization. And we also got a price roof at one ongoing reservation per organization per facility. I think it was €500 per half a year. Nobody agreed that this was the best opportunity or best result. If the situation was that it used to be free, then it's worse that it pays costs. But now it's something that at least it's something that you can live with. But of course, we recognize that we were discussing all organizations. These individual reservation fees, like you do a 3-hour reservation, we talk about a couple of tenors, as it were, and we talk about several, like 20, 30, 50, or maybe about €100. But the problem are these weekend uses, because weekend use is pretty much impossible because you need the security person, which is €60 per hour plus tax plus the cost of the facility. So it's not possible for student organizations to actually get these, or it is possible, but it's very, very expensive to host events in university spaces or during the evenings or evenings after the opening times. And what I felt that it wasn't within the spirit of negotiations when we were discussing it was that in this Philemon's proposal, if you borrow Philemon's proposal, is that what you've asked for the capture the flag, it wasn't an actually organization, but it was a group of students, and the same rule was applied to them. But I feel that when I negotiated that this was kind of the case for them, groups of students. What comes about the discussion on guild rooms? This is a new spin on the take, a new take on this. That this has nothing that we haven't discussed anything like this with the university. Can you go to a guild room, and who can go, and at what time? And we haven't had any discussions on this with the university. And what discussions we've had, the university has proposed its wish, or its willingness to come to the table and negotiate with the students. But at least when you sent these messages, they haven't really done a lot of flexibility on the part of the university. So this background is what we have for this discussion. Somebody speaking without a microphone, so the interpreter cannot interpret. Is it possible with negotiating to get more flexibility? Nobody's speaking to a microphone, but I can pretty much hear that they are discussing about speaking into a microphone. Yes, so the question is that, is it possible that if we negotiate, will these decisions change? Can we affect them? It's a kind of a strong maybe is the best answer I can throw from off the top of my head, but I wouldn't be massively optimistic and hold my breath for good results. Juuso, please, and followed by Stimpert. We have two separate things here, quite big both. Thank you, Ante, for a good clarification that this guild room thing and this rental thing. You mentioned, Emil, you mentioned the template. I would like to actually condemn going into practicalities and going into personal things here. There was actually a factual problem. Chem does not have 24/7 access, and the fact that this was done by Arcres side, which was a kind of a surprise. They changed the locks, and they talk about security as the grounds, and we talk about guild room where you can't actually access anywhere else. And I'm bringing this up front because I see that there are kind of a more broad problem that I want to address, which is Acres lack of transparency and lack of communication towards students. It feels like Acre does not support the well-being of students and does not take anything into account to support this in their decision making. Based on this, Chem supports the idea of this proposal and the decision, but I'd still like to condemn the fact that the proposal was not according to good practices. Stimpert.
Stimpert Schisma, thank you. I kind of agree. And I still don't really understand the reasoning of the university in these matters, because like it feels like it's the students against the university. But I don't understand how this is possible, because this kind of possibilities for the students is in the interest of the university also. I had a conversation with my father about this. He said earlier that like when people were waiting for the computer to compute to the end, then people were waiting for it, and then they could get in innovative discussions about things. And these kind of spaces and rooms for students where they can meet and not just sit at home and then study online, these are moments where you might get the innovation that Aalto actually wants to get. So why do they try to restrict on everything? So is the argument that they think they like need more money or can get more money out of this? Do they like, why do they want to take the money from the students? I don't actually can estimate if the effort, the additional effort that Aalto has to do, has that increased compared to before, or is it the same? And if it's the same, why do they suddenly now come up with, okay, we have to be more restrictive about it? So I don't really understand the argumentation of the university on it. And well, even if this doesn't change anything, then we can try at least, right?
Yes, if Emil wants to comment first, and Antti, and then the next speaker. Yes, the way I understand it, that I've gathered through these discussions and exchange of messages, is that the arguments given by the university, well, for this original discussion about started from the use of facilities by the choirs. Their arguments back then was that it's unequal, that some associations have these kind of gained benefits that they will not give up on and give to others. Yes, people are looking at me in doubt that could actually say this, and I'm of the same mind. It was a peculiar argument, but yes, they wanted to create a system that is equal to all associations, because they said that there has been a lot of demand for the facilities, and these demands could not have been met. And we asked that what associations have asked for the facilities and which facilities, but they didn't answer us. The second argument they've used, especially for the guild room discussions, for example, why there needs to be a janitor during the weekend always, is that it's Aalto's policy, the security policy, that the janitors are there always. It's a question of security and safety, that they're not open 24/7. And the university has also argued that self-learning spaces for students are still open 24/7 for students, but Aalto University thinks that guild rooms are not self-learning spaces. So yes, these are the arguments that have been used. Whether I agree with them is maybe I will not comment on that. So I withdraw my comment, actually. So Luukkanen. And if you have any proposal for change, please make us know. Make us know. Yes, Luukkanen from Skisma. I think that when we listen to the discussion and followed how it has progressed for years now, I think this was the culmination. This removal of 24/7 use of guild rooms. I think it was a culmination here. I think the problem we're just on a different page with the university and especially with ACRE. I think it's valid that the student union we have done good work, but we should be even more vocal about this. That would be then probably the next step. In this room, we have many good arguments for this, so it would be good that we could actually put this on paper, publish them, deliver them to the right persons. Because it feels that there are many different aspects here. It's not an all-encompassing this problem. So for guild rooms, I may be wrong, but the way I understand it, like when I was active in guilds, is that these were agreed in agreements made between the different schools and the guilds, that there where the negotiations were held. So it was kind of the schools have been very friendly in this regard before, but are apparently not anymore. So if we decide on this, maybe we should edit the text a bit, give a bit freer rein to the office and the board on this kind of advocacy work. But maybe we should now have an official statement made about this issue. What do you think, Antti? Or do you feel that now isn't the right place or time for it? Well, if think from the point of view of meeting technicalities, if the representing council wants to make a public statement about it or oblige AYYE to do it, a statement is a certain document with certain weight. So it's possible if you want us to do it. And I believe the future chair of the board, because this will be on your desk, we will gladly hear your opinion on it as well if you have one. But I think the value here for me is that the way I see how this discussion has flowed, is that you are not happy with these new decisions made by the university. So that you want us to fight against them, try to reach a better result. To be frank, I don't know if we can actually have an impact. Or if it is decision made here today in this meeting, will it have an actual impact? But as I discussed with the new vice chair of the Representing Council, that the university had said that they will happily discuss with the students about this issue, so we could also consider that. I think Representing Council will be happy to talk with the ACRE CEO and the other people, so you can voice your opinions directly to them. I'm not saying that this is what we will do, certainly, but this would be one way to do it. And also talk about this with the chairs of the Representing Council. Like to also defend ACRE a bit. I think it was Luukkanen who pointed out that for guild rooms, they do not negotiate with ACRE, but with the school in question, who rents the spaces from ACRE. So blaming ACRE for everything is not very reasonable. Especially for the guild rooms, the schools have made the decisions to restrict the use of these guild rooms, not ACRE. A comment on this, I believe. Also for the self-learning spaces, I saw the policy or the decision by Chem, School of Chemistry, as a document that had a lengthy description of the School of Chemistry's limiting the use of their facilities. It also had some good points, but ACRE was not the party here making these decisions. It was actually your own school who did it. This is not a university-wide policy. It is a decision made by your own school that the guild belongs to. And I would be happy to, for example, receive requests being the head of campus issues that people would have asked me to come negotiate about these issues with the school, but I haven't received these requests. And I think the university-wide policies have been okay, but the schools have been stricter than the university, or some schools have been. Thank you. Outana Kainulainen, then over there, Hämynen. Emil, do you want to have a side comment? Poutanen. Jussu from Chem made a good point. And when Sainio said that Acre is not the great evil here, it kind of made my point a bit moot, because I was about to propose that could AYYE had an advocacy goal of getting student representation in Acre as well to talk about our points of view. But if Acre is not the kind of party here to blame, then this is a pretty different matter. The reason why we have been quite silent is not because we oppose this or are for it, but rather think that business school students don't have these kind of similar problems, so that we don't absolutely have to make a lot of noise about this issue. But of course, we stand in solidarity with students in other schools about this, even if it doesn't concern us that much. And we don't have guild rooms because we don't have the same kind of guild room tradition. So this is how the kind of business school differs from the others. There's a comment about the schools making the decisions about the 24/7 access rights to guild rooms. When we talked with the dean about this, they said quite directly that you should discuss with AYYE, should discuss with the university and not with the school. They said that the school can't decide. So I'm from Chem. So correction. Thank you, Sampo, for your speech. But the School of Chemistry, this issue was related to an issue where the school said that contact the university, we can't decide, and the university said that contact the school because we can't make the decision. So there's been a lack of communication here. So they have bounced the issue from to each other. Yes, this is that who is responsible on which issues. So that these people being willing to also discuss with students. The CEO of Acre and the vice rector have both said that they are willing to talk with the students about this issue. And the discussions we had about the facility fees for associations, we talked about this as well with several people. And so we actually reached the consensus best with Ville Jokela, the CEO of Acre. kind of discussed with all parties. I think it's a bit of a hot topic or a hot potato there as well, that they just want to throw it away to someone else. No one wants to really take responsibility of it. But yeah, this is not very clear to us that who we should negotiate with. A lot of unclarity. Next ripotti. Ripotti from the board. As part of these discussions, talked with the security chief of Aalto. And they said that disagreements have been made between guilds and schools, but according to him, these 24/7 access rights, it was not even the idea to give it to all students. So yes, this is a kind of a recurring theme that no one knows who decides on what. So as they said, this person from the guild sounds good, they will be granted right, and then there are hundreds of people who have these 24/7 rights. And now they want to make kind of a reform to access rights so that not that many people would have the rights anymore. Unkalo from Chem. Just about the access rights in the chemistry school have been talked about and how our situation is quite bad. We're very happy if we had a similar situation as with everyone else. But yes, we can also compile a group speech about this. Our subject organizations have also worked on this matter, tried to lobby it. And they have only said that, well, chemical safety, that is the reason we cannot do this. So we'll continue our advocacy work.
Thank you. I urge everybody else to make group chair or group statements if you want to clarify or share them. At this stage, is there somebody else who wants to make proposals for change for this item? Or can we move to decide? Emily, you may of course give closing arguments, but last requests during Emil's speech. So you have my proposal up here behind me, and comments or changes to this. I have tried to make the word form so that I will not be binding the board, but generally given the instruction to further the subject. Hopefully this would be okay to Luukkanen in its current form. Currently, the mailing list from Stimper, we have got a good comment on the subject. I urge everybody to read it. And in these answers, for example, the vice rector has before this meeting stated a response to this and requested that we stay within the pilot. But now that we've heard about the pilot right now, it would be the time that the longer we are going into this pilot that we actually removes our rights, it's harder to get them back. Of course, Chem, if the school is that board plus 10 people, that they will directly have to ask that why are not directly giving these rights? Why do we have to request for them? Why couldn't things be better? We're going to, of course, need the 24/7 access. Then about the numbers, we definitely need more than board plus 10. You had the access rights. 50 or something like this, if I recall correctly, when I was a first year student. We're also talking about doing in a sense that we do it in, we act in accordance and in unison, like that the university is okay with the fact that you can take these through Aalto space and just go there and do. if these facilities are not used. So it's not, this is just doesn't make sense. I hope that the logic here that school hallways are accessible 24/7, like hub is accessible. So I think Marintie 8 is accessible 24/7. There's no reason that we couldn't have the access. So hopefully you will vote for the proposal. Then we have Luukkanen, which is the last request. So me and Hamalampi have our own proposal for change. I will read it out loud. The interpreter will not be able to probably recite it, but they will give a go. So if you want to change any specifics before we officially propose it, the chairperson can maybe have a 2-minute break, but I will read the proposal for change. The Representative Council stated that the fluctuating access rights affect students in the university. The Representative Council proposes that the Central Office and the board will make a stance depicting the unsatisfactory nature of the situation and continue on making things better. Thank you, Emil. If you want to, I will allow a short rebuttal. And let's do so that Julius proposed. Let's take a 2-minute break. And if you want to say your own opinion for Luukkanen's proposal, that may be your right. After this, we will not be discussing, but we will be deciding. Very short rebuttal from Emil. Based on this, I don't see how it differentiates from my proposal. It is a good proposal, I am assured, especially the stating the obvious, stating in the start it's good, but I think it's pretty much what I stated. Thank you. And for interpreters, Luukkanen says that there are rhetorical differences to the template. A couple of minutes of break. If you go somewhere, please come back. It's possible with Luukkanen and Havalampi to go and affect the proposal for change, after which we'll be moving directly to decide or vote, actually vote, and then decide on the subject. If you are here after, if you have been doing scrutinizing of the minutes since my term, you may sign minutes here. So closing discussions, and we have the bit changed, mostly stylistically. It is same in content. Hopefully the interpreters can read it, so can't translate it. So the template being that the then the red was the Luukkanen's proposal for change. Luukkanen will be presenting their changes. Thank you, Emil. So we have the two items here that the talk about the student union. We change it to student union's board. And then free access was changed to access as deemed by the associations. It is still the same. Then Luukkanen will present their own proposal for change. If you notice that you are missing your voting slips, can you hear me? Looks like that would be a no. We discussed with a disparate group of individuals on taking into account Fielman's changes. The biggest difference between these two proposals is that my proposal does not define a clear result to which the office and the board should strive towards, because we do not see that it as practically possible, but it leaves them a free rein to develop the situation as they best see fit. This is not supposed to be an opinion piece to highlight the problems, but it would leave that to the task of the board to deconstruct the discussion that has taken place here, find out we have these very different beginnings from students and their statements. What is the opinion piece that depicts us as a group? So even though Luukkanen commented that we are searching for a result and the board would not be accepting everything, of course the board can negotiate towards the direction that they wish. I do not feel that my proposal is differentiating. Then we'll move into vote. You see the options. So blue is the template, which is Fielman's template. Reads over there. The red, if somebody wants to pick up a slip, red is Luukkanen's. Yes. Proposal for change. And white is empty. Blue Fielman, red Luukkanen, and white is empty. Are there any questions on the voting procedures or the options? Everything is clear. It seems so. Voting slips up now. Looks very red to me, but we can count them if we, yes. 7 blue, 17 red. Proposal for change prevails. You may lower your voting slips. The representative council states, reading straight from the paper, which the interpreter cannot regrettably see. But it is basically the Luukkanen's proposal for change. Decided. Closing item 14, moving on to item 15, other business, opening discussions. And before I will hand out a request for the floor, let's go through the IT service issue. Thank you. I will give 3 short points to illustrate the subject. Point 1, start from the spiciest subject. If looking at the process, we have the representative council, we have heard that let's cut down on doing, let's do better. What we end up doing, the IT policy discussion, we hear that the presentation is too operative, and in the association regulation it states that the stipulations are something that the board must decide, and then the board does exercises this power, then the representative council wants to take it back to themselves. Of course, this is the right of the representative council, but as I've discussed with the chairpersons, we would like to bring this idea forth, that I hope that you will use this power with deliberation. Then towards more positive subjects on the practical realities on why this decision was something that was ended up with, you will see some of the grounds right here, that we have challenges in handling many of the issues. Our current palette in its entirety is a challenge. If we know as staff members, as employees, that all of our services A grade in terms of like information security, and we have the requirement to focus on security threats, because if we don't do that, we are being negligent, and that increases the risk. That especially now that that we've had this discussion, that this kind of a house of cards that have been built on top of it, that we can actually get these non-military services. And now we had this risk that realized, apparently, like very practically, that it increases the pressure that we should be able to do less in order to be able to do better. And the third thing here, the most positive here that I'd like to focus on, is that the board's decision was not that tomorrow AYY will shut down all these services, but the decision is that first we will give out the services given to other student unions that don't actually bring us, well, pretty much anything. And from these services to associations, we will start to narrow them down in the next few years to create a plan on how would we do these in practical terms in order for it to not cause undue harm to associations, that the result could even be better than it is currently, because our web services currently are not the best A grade as it states, as it stands. AYY would move towards the direction where we offer services and aid on who to cooperate with enable with our own partnerships that other associations can purchase services from elsewhere? Is it sensible that we have our own email server? Would it be better that, like we buy GitHub, we used by you for free, we would have a service provider, we would have a service there, we'd have an association maybe that could take some of these services for their use. All of these are on the table, and this decision binds us so that next year we will be looking into the best possible practices without that are the best in the sense that they don't cause undue stress to AYY's resources. And those resources, like stated, are very thin already. No proposals for change for a place, so we don't really have any means to increase these resources. So we will bring this to discussion if you decide to do so, but with this background into the discussion then. Thank you.
Before granting the floor, just for the sake of clarity, I read out the board's decision. So as a reminder, the board has decided on last week's Thursday's meeting about the IT services. And then we will have a preliminary decision. You will make decision today if you want to have this issue up for a decision in a next year's meeting. So the board decided a week ago in this meeting that AYYE stops offering email and network services for the associations working within it. The IT team will plan this abolishment of the services done during 2023 and 2024. The board also made note of that the agreements made with different student unions about Hallobed and Tahla systems will be cancelled as well with a reasonable transition period. Feel free to ask if there's anything unclear and any other comments. Filman? Thank you. This is wrong on all levels, that the board or office decides, kind of proposes this before even looking into any other options. This is a very backwards way of thinking. We can do this, but before that, we should look into the matter on how to do this better than just decide that we won't do it at all. Houtanen? Without taking a stand on the actual decision making made by the board, but rather on this withholding of decision making power. I don't know how to put this elegantly, but I think we should look this through our rules again, because there's a long history of the Representative Council of getting their minutes from the board's meetings at just the last minute. I don't think the situation will change, so I think it would be good to add a clause about withholding decision-making power that I think Fielman proposed in the original email. So withholding decision-making power is a way for the Representative Council, if we see that the board does something that we don't like, what only 40 members have decided, that we can pull the emergency brake, so to speak. I think that this could be also added a mention here. If a board has already made a decision, then what is the Representative Council's right to make changes to the decision? On Telegram, I also told the group chairs that I disagree with the chair of the Representative Council about the interpretation of the rules, because it doesn't explicitly state that if a decision has been made, that the decision-making power could not be withheld on that decision. It doesn't explicitly state that. Because if we read the rules about to the letter, it says that if a decision to withhold the decision-making power has been made, then the matter will be decided on the next meeting and no decisions can be made before that. I think it might be interpreted that this has now been brought to the Representative Council, but I think we should add a specification to our rules about the Representative Council's right in these kind of issues. Yes, I'm not about to change my interpretation of the rules, but I agree that we could add some kind of clarification there. Antti? No, thank you. A good comment from Poutanen. I agree with the chair of the council about his interpretation of the rules, but also agree with Poutanen about, I don't know if you need to open this main clause in the rules just because of this, but maybe the next time when we open them up for editing, we could consider adding this kind of clarification, because you're right that technically nothing stops sending the minutes from board's meeting to Representative Council 2 minutes before the Representative Council meeting, and if you are not fast enough to withhold their decision-making power within those 2 minutes, then you can't do it. And also take this to heart that we should deliver the minutes to you earlier than has been done now. But yes, I totally agree with you that if we are about to change them anyway, we should make this kind of change. But also we should consider that should we start the change process for the rules only because of this. Thank you. Any more requests for this? If there are no, then we will have a preliminary vote on the issue. Seems pretty quiet, so I think we can have the vote. So let's see what we are all voting on. Apologies for this complex language, but hopefully you can make sense. So I read this decision made by the board, and now if you vote for blue, it means that you don't want to take this up for decision in the next meeting. And if you vote for red, it means that you want to take this item up for decision for the next RepCo meeting. And as I was said in the email, I also discussed this issue with Antti, also Otto, the current chair of the board, and also with Ida. So Ida, the chair of the board next year, so it will be their responsibility next year if you decide to handle the matter next year. I think we can all agree that there is no hurry to make the decision and implement it. So if you would like to have it up for discussion and handling for next year's meeting, you may very well do so. There's any questions about the vote and the options? Now the vote counters, if you could please come up here. Last exercise, a moment of the year in this sense. So to reiterate, blue, you don't want to handle this next year. Red, you want to handle this issue next year. And this is just a preliminary vote. It's not binding. Just kind of to see what is your opinion? Okay. Let's count. We have many empty votes as well, so Yes, so it's the same result. This was a tie, so we don't have to flip a coin because this is in the binding vote. But yes, 8, 8, 10. So 8 yes, 8 no, 10 empty. So yeah, it's tie. And yes, any other emerging matters? Saikku. Now, since we are sitting here and being in the last meeting of the year, I'd like to thank the chairs of the Representative Council and the board who have tolerated us here for this year. Thank you. Otan for vihreämpiä aaltoa. I'd like to thank the Representative Council and the board and everyone else, and also say that this is probably my last RepCo meeting because I'm about to graduate at the turn of the year. So you will have about 30 minutes more time to speak for yourself, since I won't be here talking all the time. So hopefully you can fill this void. A quick question.
Go like this. I'm going to make a meme for the yacht. Is that possible? Just like this. That face that way a little bit. Yep.
Is my hair good?
And smile a little bit.
Joku hauska juttu.
For meme purposes.
Superstar.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other request for floor for this item? Antti? Yes. Thank you. Also on my behalf, I'd like to thank and will thank the Representative Council for your wise decision in choosing me as the executive director. But not only that, but only for this year and the work we have done together. So I really look forward to next year and the new challenges and discussions. So Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy New Year to each and all. Hopefully students can take a holiday also during the Christmas. I don't know what the practice is like, because I recently graduated after 17 years of studies, so I really can't remember anymore. And Allu? Yes, thank you. Now it's my turn to have a thank you speech. Thank you for this year, because this is me and Smylle's last year as the chairs of the Representative Council. So thank you to the Representative Council for this year. You're a great group of people. And I don't think there has even been a situation where we have had to think, for example, if we have quorum, if we have enough people. So I've been very active throughout the year. And great decisions have been made, so you really use your power well. And now I also want to say out loud that the central office has a pre-Christmas party, after party. It's nothing too fancy, but more stuff than usual. It's been great that we've had been able to do these after parties also this year. We have tried to do our best with the people we have. So yes, thank you, everyone. Yes, also like my voice asked chairs often do. I want to thank you for this year. sometimes tried my patience, but this has been an excellent year, and I will remember this with warmth. I'll quote an American author whose views I do not share, but yes, democracy is watching the circus from the monkey cage. So thank you from the monkey cage. Thank you, and if there are no other requests of floor, we may close the meeting, I think. So closing discussion and closing item 15, moving to item 16, closing of the meeting. It's 8:26 p.m. closing the meeting. Thank you.